Welcome everybody to the After Hours episode of the Speakeasy Podcast. This is After Hours number 4, Joey. We've made it so far.
Wow, we've gone through all this drink, only to end up in the After Hours.
Same place where we always end up, bucko.
God damn.
So we left off the regular episode of the Speakeasy Podcast at a cliffhanger of sorts.
Yeah, sorry people. I had to do it to you.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
So won't you enlighten the audience about where we ended up?
So we had a discussion about single player or multiplayer games, but it kind of turned into a bit more. We had a little conversation about, what the good things are about a good single player games and the escape it can bring, but also the multiplayer games that can, you can hang out with 4, 5, 3 of your friends and just go at it for the night.
Yes.
Now, I don't fully remember what question we left off on.
That's the best start to an episode ever. So I asked you, because I am honestly, and I asked this because I wanted to challenge myself as well. What is your favorite gaming experience of your life? What has brought you the most joy? You can pick a single player or a multiplayer game. But what I think we should do is you can ponder that while we talk, because I have some other points that we should touch upon.
Sure.
Now, as I said in the regular Speakeasy episode, gaming can offer a lot of positives in the sense that it provably increases your reaction speeds, your planning, your ability to multitask, all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
Obviously, it can also bring some negatives. Some people tend to game too much, spend too much time on video games, staying indoors and stuff like that.
Guilty as charged.
But like I said, I spent some time, a lot of time, in the 4 years where I was sick. I had a mental illness, and in that period, it was both my escape and it was also my social contact because I didn't go out as much.
So let me ask you this question: what about it gave you the feeling of, yes, this is making me feel better? This is the escape.
I think that part is mostly down to not wanting to be inside your own mind. Like, I remember it as if I was falling apart in some sense. Like, I got sick when I was 24 around that time. I can't pinpoint it down to a day. But that's later than most people, and so I feel I don't know if it's the same. My brother has been sick for his whole life almost. He was like 8 or 9 when he told me that he felt like he wasn't normal, that he didn't view things as a normal human being. But I think for me, when I was 24, I felt like my life was going how I wanted it to go. Like, I had gone through high school, I had started studying, and so my personality was almost developed, and I had an idea of where I wanted to go. Yeah. And all of a sudden, when you get like ill, you get sick, you don't really understand what's going on with you. Yeah. And so I had a lot of social anxiety, and I had a lot of general anxiety towards responsibilities. And so it was for me both an escape from facing what I didn't do, but it was also a direct escape from I couldn't really handle the stuff I needed to. And I feel like it worked to some extent. And I obviously met a lot of great friends along the way. I met you. I met Eddie. You remember Eddie? Yes, shout out Eddie if you're listening to this. We still keep in touch. Mr. Edwin. And I feel it also did, in some sense, keep my mind sharp, because most games that I play, and no offense if you do, but I don't game casually in the sense that I want to be the best at what I game. So like if I play League of Legends, I want to be as good as I can be. Obviously, I'm never gonna be a pro, but I want to put my heart into it. If I play World of Warcraft, I want to raid at the highest level, and if I play The Last of Us, I want to play at the highest difficulty. Beat the game.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it also gave me something to feel like I was like getting better at, I guess.
Still achieving something.
Yes, in some sense. I also knew at the same time it had no real value in the
No.
real world. But how
Yeah.
about you? What did gaming do for you?
Well, drain my bank account for one. For one.
That got real fast. Yes.
No, I had a big spending problem.
You are a bit of a skin connoisseur, aren't you, Gusses?
I am a bit of a collector, as they say.
Yeah.
That's the fancy word for it, or just fucking reckless with my money is another word for it. No, I like the pretty things. I always like the pretty things. And since back then, I had a shit ton of money to spend because I was still living at home and I was earning way more than I should for my age. It just went all into gaming. Now, obviously, I had some fun with it, so I can't fully be like it was complete fucking waste.
Oh.
But looking back on it, I do kind of half regret not having the extra 4,000 euros right now. But then again, you live and you learn. But
I think in that sense, it's almost. I look at it this way. I if you were to go and watch a movie, you pay. How much is a movie ticket if you go to the cinema in the Netherlands?
Like 14 euros.
14 euros, okay. And the movie lasts what, like 2 hours, let's say. Yeah. So you pay €7.5 per hour to get entertained, right? Mm-hmm. If you divide your spend on League with that same dividend, it's not that much different, is it?
Probably.
So
I mean, yeah. It is a little different because you don't go to the movie every hour, but like high school is just especially with high school I used to skip class like and skip school like every week because I didn't feel the need to go to school and I didn't want to, so I just stayed home and kind of like not like you wanted, but like kind of like to escape my like civil duties. It's not civil duties, but like
no, but I guess there was some sort of social escape from it, right? You weren't really good at school, and so you don't feel.
Well, I was good at school. I just really didn't like school. Like I didn't want to go.
You didn't feel good at school, is what I mean. Like if you got perfect grades, if you don't enjoy going there, you don't really do well at school. In general,
exactly. I didn't feel good at school. I didn't feel happy. I really felt miserable at school. So ever since someone told me, why don't you just skip class? Like they don't do anything. And I was like, I bet. So I just skipped class for half a year. And then obviously after half a year,
they go, wait a minute.
They're like, where the fuck is this guy?
Who is this Joey?
Is he in my class? Yeah. So yeah, no, that definitely brought a much needed escape in that sense. Like forcibly keep my mind off of basically, what's the word I'm looking for?
Responsibilities, I guess.
Yes, that one. Yes, responsibilities. But yeah, that's probably the main thing.
Did you gain anything from the time you spent gaming? Like, do you look at it and go, well, at least I learned?
Well, I mean, my competitiveness never wavered.
I get that. Yes, same.
But feeling. I mean, I feel like you said, it does keep you sharp. Like
it does.
My hand-eye coordination has always been good, but it's still that maintains it well. I mean, obviously, got to meet a lot of people from all around the world, which is a very nice thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily get from people here what you could get from people somewhere else.
No.
Which is a very lovely thing. Obviously, it allowed me to shout out to episode 1 of After Hours to move to Denmark.
Indirectly, I guess, yes.
To start that whole journey. But yeah, what about you?
I feel it's funny because a lot of the things you say, I feel the same way. I feel not only do you get, and that it's been proven a lot of times that people that play, this is a wild thing. If you've played World of Warcraft at a competitive level, like so to speak, if you've rated at a high level
Yeah.
or like actually invested time into playing the game, you
Yeah.
are way better at team building, leadership,
Hmm.
planning. So you get higher positions in your work
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Now, do I feel that yet? No, I don't particularly, but I will say I remember at the time feeling like even if it didn't amount to anything in the real life, having something
Yeah.
to put your time into that you felt like went somewhere, like the fact that you pushed, even if it was
Yeah.
just raids in a virtual game, it still
Yeah.
gave you something to aspire to and something to strive to and better yourself. And I think that skill and the discipline,
Yes.
because in if people don't know, in World of Warcraft, it's not uncommon that you die to the same boss 50 times, 100 times before you actually
Oh,
kill it, and
fuck.
you have to coordinate a group of 20 people
Yeah.
to kill the boss. And so I feel like that skill set is pretty good, like
Hmm.
coordinating and uh
Yeah.
at that point I was raid leading, which is the guy that tells people what to do when and
Yeah.
stuff.
Call the shots.
Yeah, and so I feel like that skill set is pretty useful anywhere you go.
Mm. Yep.
But I think the most underrated part is the part you say where you go. It's given me an appreciation of what real life can offer in a sense. Like you once you go out, you come out on the other side.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and I will tell this anecdote, and then I will tell you what it means to me afterwards. I remember it almost a year after I started my study as a journalist in
Hmm.
2019. It was probably
Yeah.
February. I remember telling Mia,
Yeah.
um, I don't enjoy gaming the same, and I'm very sad about it. And
Yeah.
she said, "Why? What's like what's going on?" And I said, "Well,
Hmm.
I remember when I was a teenager, and also when I was sick, I could sit
Yeah.
down and I could play the same game for 8 hours and be happy with it,
Yeah.
and I can't do that anymore." And she went, "Well, isn't it just a matter of the game?" And then I went, "No, I think I've changed in that sense."
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that rings true on most accounts. I was right in the analysis most of the time. Now what I didn't take into account was she was also right that if the right game comes along at the right time,
Yes.
you can spend 1,000 hours in it and it will go by like this.
Yep.
And I at the same time, like I play FIFA, I play weekend league. You have to
Yeah.
play 20 games a weekend, and I still take the time out to do it because I enjoy it and I enjoy pushing myself.
Yeah.
But it's also given me a tremendous amount of respect for how much time you can put into a game and
For
not
sure.
realize how much you
Yep.
lose out on in the real life.
Yep.
And so I'm glad that you say I don't miss it and I like that I don't miss it. On
Hmm.
one hand, on the other hand,
Yeah.
I still miss the sense of security I could get from going into a game and knowing I can spend 10 hours in here and have it escape
Yes.
from the real life.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
I
think
agree.
it's like a twofold. It's like
Yeah.
a double edged sword in some sense.
Hmm. Yeah. So I do agree. I mean, last year, like just before I actually went on holiday,
Hmm?
um, I after 9 years of playing League of Legends and just on basic skill alone could just get platinum ish level.
Yeah,
Um, and I was like, um, I just because I felt a bit bad, so I kind of wanted to escape again.
yeah,
So I kind of was like, nah, I'm a see. I can if I can push myself to just get higher, and it ended up getting me to Diamond 3 ish until I went on holiday,
hmm,
um, which to me was always a big struggle if I once I really tried to like get to that level. And
hmm.
obviously the game has evolved and evolved, so it's
Oh
really
yeah,
hard. It's harder and harder to get there. Um, but it felt good, and it felt like you're striving, like you said, you're striving to a goal,
yes,
and you're putting your hours into like like self criticism, because this is what you have to do better. You have to do this better, um, which is in general a an attribute that I have a lot in general, like self criticism.
yeah, yeah,
Um, So I don't uh, necessarily tolerate a lot of failure
No, you're
from
very
myself.
harsh on yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Um. So doing stuff like that can, once if it works, can be really um good for me, and really like uh almost tapping myself on the back, like you can do shit, like
It's therapeutic
in
in some
general.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, in general. And then, but it's also very much a double-edged sword, where if it's not working out, um then it could get really messy in my head, especially if I want to escape from something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then it can get pretty messy, which is pretty wild.
I think what's funny is I play way more single player games than you do, I feel.
Mm,
Um and so I've almost divided it into two categories in my head where I go the single player games I still really enjoy. And I
yeah.
can still if a good game comes along, I can
Mhm.
still put down uh 8-10 hours a day, probably divided
Yeah.
into 2 or 3 sessions if I need to, but
Yeah.
if it's a really really good single player game.
Mhm.
I feel almost the opposite with the multiplayer games if I don't have someone to play with.
Yeah.
So like for instance, I remember last year in
Mhm.
right before season ended, you and me
Yeah.
duo queued
Yeah.
in League for the first time. I think where for the first time it was where I felt like you were actually at the same
Mhm.
time trying to help me, but also trying to like show me what do you need to do to get better, which I
Mm.
actually liked because for the first time I was like, I remember asking you years ago, like, just tell me
Yeah.
what I'm doing wrong, and you were like,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and I remember I was like, okay, I look forward to every night when we go and we play 2 or 3 games, and sometimes we lose three,
Mhm.
but most of the time we
Yeah.
win because you're better than the average, and and then I started out playing after I hit gold for the first time. Woo, go me.
Yeah.
I
Amazing.
amazing. No, not at all. But it was
No.
good. It was good for me, right? It felt good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
then obviously there's the in between where there's no season in League of Legends, and so I
Yeah.
played a bit of Apex Legends, the game that you
Mhm.
know as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anybody to play with. I just enjoyed the game,
Mhm.
and I couldn't really play that much because you
Yeah.
need that someone to
Yeah.
you need
To
that
vibe
connection
off
to
of,
someone.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly right. And so
Mhm.
and there are some games where it's almost like in some sense I feel like World of Warcraft is almost a single player game and you can follow the storyline and the
Yeah.
lore
Yeah.
and you can put hours into just exploring the world and doing side quests and
Yeah.
just having fun exploring, getting to know the world. But
Yeah.
at its core,
That's
it's a very
yeah.
social game, right?
Yes.
Whereas League of Legends tries to have a lot of lore where everybody just knows you are 5 guys trying to kill the other 5 guys
Ooh,
and destroy
and
their
that can
base.
get toxic as
And that
shit.
can get toxic, very toxic.
Fuck me. Yeah.
Um, but at its core, it offers me so much difference
Yeah.
in output
Hmm.
a single player
Yes.
game versus a multiplayer game that
Mm.
it's yeah. And I didn't view it as like that as always. I just went, well, it's a game, like a video
It's a
game
game.
is a
Yeah.
video game, right?
It's a game. Yeah.
But
It's a
it's
game. Yeah.
very much not. It's like you say,
Yeah.
from time to time, I can't handle playing Counter Strike or League of Legends because
Mm.
I don't want that toxicity in my life, and at times I go, okay, I'm down to banter a bit and go,
Yeah.
what was that flash in League of Legends or all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Um. So wait. So what? There was one question before we went on this whole tangent.
Oh yeah.
Um.
What was your favorite gaming experience?
Yeah. Um. I mean, I think it is still the first, just playing Pokemon on my DS,
Hmm.
probably, because like it. But that's probably nostalgia talking more than actually it being the most enjoyable. Because probably the most enjoyable was the time where uh, you're still not in serious school. Like you still don't
Yeah.
have to try that much, and you can come home at 3 o'clock, go on your computer, all your friends are there because everyone's still young, and you log into either World of Warcraft or League of Legends when it was still an amazing game, um, where everything just felt great and everything was fun, and you have fun game modes that you could do with your friends. Um, so it's either like
Oh
playing
yes.
playing with friends, or like a Minecraft fucking server you have with
Yeah.
4 or 5 of your friends that you sit all day, bring your laptops to each other's
LAN party.
house,
Yeah.
have a LAN party. That's probably like the most like serene and like happy experience you have while gaming.
I agree with you 100%. I think
Yeah.
for me, there's two distinct, different answers. There's the, if you look at achievement wise and what impacted me the most, I think the first time I played through The Last of Us, probably
Yeah.
as a game, that game is beyond art for me. That is, and I think that's in general, that's what video games represent to me, is an art form where you can be immersed into what a movie would be, and explore the tiny nuances that if you spend an extra 10 seconds in an area, you might get a different comment from Ellie or from Joel, or if you take the time to find a comic, you can, all that stuff. But I agree with you. There's also the point where I go, I remember, because I'm old, as you know. Anyways, I remember distinctly. I was one of the first. My after school program didn't open until I was the third person enrolled in it, which is pretty cool. And the first 3 months of my school time, they were building the building where we were supposed to be. And at that point, we were just in like sheds, pretty much. And so we just played football. But when they built the building, in the basement, they had a whole area where they had invested in a big white, like a screen, like a projector, and also the original Nintendo 64. And I remember playing not only, of course, Mario Kart, legendary game. Amazing. But also, of course, the James Bond game with the golden gun. GoldenEye, exactly.
Is it GoldenEye or Golden Gun?
GoldenEye.
I think it's Golden Gun.
No, it's GoldenEye, and you have the golden gun, and it's a wonderful game, and it looks ridiculously poor now, but back then it was
amazing.
And getting to play that with your friends at the after school, and it was a special occasion because we had 4 different like parts, like you were either because it was galaxy themed, so you were a star, you were a planet, or you were an asteroid or whatever, and we took turns, so you only got to go down there once every second week or so. But that was a special occasion. I just remember the joy of being able to race and the pure joy. I also have another area with that. That's when Diablo 2 was out, and I was 10, I think, when the Lord of Destruction expansion came out, and at that point I didn't have a good gaming PC, and I was also too young to go on my own. But there was gaming like cafes, PC cafes, where you could go and play. And I remember distinctly at that point my mom rented out a room to a very nice guy called Dennis. And Dennis was almost like a big brother to me, and I didn't really have. I've never had my dad has never really been a role model. And Dennis wasn't really exactly a role model in many regards, but he was very good at doing stuff with me. And we went to the gaming PC cafe and played Diablo. And I remember when I was like 12, for the first time, I was allowed to go to what they called the night shift, where you played 10 hours straight from 10 o'clock in the evening to 8 o'clock in the morning. And and Dennis went with me because that was the only way I was allowed, and he played with all my friends, and we were 6 friends going, and he was just there. And I don't have contact with him anymore, and I miss him a lot, actually, because he was very good to me, and he had a lot of issues. And I learned later he had PTSD. He was shipped to Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff, so he had a very troubled mind, but
Yeah.
I just remember him playing with me and my friends, and I was just so happy that he was there to share with me and that I was allowed to
Yeah.
go and stuff. So and I just remember we played. Not only did we play Diablo 2, we also played the original Counter Strike because that was when that was
Oh,
out.
yes.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. Yep.
I
All
agree
right,
with you.
yeah.
There's some serene and pristine moments where you just go, "This is a pure experience that I will never enjoy again." Looking back at it, but then
No,
again, I wouldn't really want to because I don't think it would mean the same today.
it will not. No, I don't think
But
so.
yes,
Yeah. There's just a youthful like innocence about it, I
almost
feel
an
like.
ignorance, right? Where you don't go, the world
Yeah.
isn't really real, and you just get
Yeah.
to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. There's no problems. Like all that's happening is me and my friends just having
Yep.
fun playing Counter Strike or playing Mario Kart. Yeah,
Yes,
it is.
exactly.
It's tough growing up.
Yes,
I feel like
becoming aware of what the world has to offer, both
yeah,
good and bad, is
yes.
sometimes a joy and at times a complete and utter destruction of your
Heartbreak. Yeah,
yes.
yep,
So yes, I agree.
yeah,
Now, as a final note, if you were to
yeah.
pass on any advice to other
Mhm.
aspiring gamers out there,
Aspiring gamers.
let's say we have an audience and they are, let's say you have a cousin and your
Yeah.
cousin is 13, he's just starting out, he's bought his first PC or Xbox or whatever.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Pass along your wisdom to him.
All right. So, I feel like what I would do is download um download a very good story driven game. Um get a community based game because growing up for us it was either RuneScape, World of Warcraft, or stuff like that. That kind of because it even though you're not outside, you are building connections and you
And
are
learning,
like socially kind of
yes,
growing a
learning
little
the
bit.
social rules and whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So I would do that, and then just enjoy it while you're young. I feel like just enjoy it while you can, because no, not enjoy it while you can, because I feel like that's on a too much of a somber note. But
I guess. I
yeah,
mean, I'm 32. I still enjoy games, so no.
no, I know. I mean, like enjoy it while you still have that young,
Yes, I agree with you.
innocent mindset of the
While you
world.
have the time, it's a good time to enjoy. Yep.
Yeah, just enjoy it, and if you can have some friends together, it doesn't matter what you play, you'll have fun. So that's probably that.
That's good
How about you?
advice.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. Do yourself the favor of at least playing through some of the top rated games, single player wise.
Yeah.
Maybe The Last of Us. Something like
The new God of War.
the new God of War, the remake
The
from
new
like
God of
2017 or whatever. It
Yeah.
could be Half-Life 2, has a wonderful story, very story driven. And also do yourself the favor of at least downloading one multiplayer game in some sense. A game that has a community. It could be World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online. The Diablo franchises has some trading communities that's very fun where you can do stuff together. Whatever it may be. Because that teaches you a lot about how social interactions work, and also it teaches you a lot about how the internet works in general, which I think is
For
very
sure.
useful.
Especially nowadays.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think other than that, I think there's no game out there that's not worth the time if it's good enough for you.
Yeah.
In that sense, there's a lot of games that wasn't cool to play that I wish I would have played anyways. Like,
Same.
don't give a flying hoot
No.
what anybody says. If it's a good game, play it. If
Yep.
that's The
If you
Sims, that's great.
Even if it's not good, if you enjoy it, go at it.
Yeah,
It
exactly,
doesn't matter.
exactly.
It does not matter.
And
if you get enjoyment out of it, just get it.
exactly.
Just go and do it. Yeah.
And there's nothing that's like wrong to play. I've played The Sims. I've played all sorts of games that people hate, or that that's a game for girls, or whatever people say.
Yeah.
Forget about that.
Yeah.
Good games are good games, and it doesn't matter if it's called Animal Horizon or The Last of Us. If it
Animal
works, it
Crossing,
works. Animal
amazing
Crossing,
game.
amazing game.
Yeah.
Uh, as a side note,
Yeah.
enjoy the fact that you are able to immerse yourself. It's okay from time to time to take the advantage of a game to immerse yourself in another world. There are a few
Yep.
opportunities, like you say, where you can have the time and the lack of responsibility to immerse yourself in a world like you can in games. And I truly believe that's where the real strength of games lie, is the fact that they can convey an environment, whether that be VR or that be The Last of Us, that looks very realistic as a
Yes.
dystopic future.
For sure.
You can immerse yourself in that world and be a part of it for a time, and that's a very powerful way of exploring your fantasy and your mind and what it can do for you.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. I mean, yeah, that's one thing as well. Like touching upon that, you said something amazing there. That it does expand your fantasy a lot, and I feel like growing up on games and all that type of stuff, um, has um got because when I play Dungeons and Dragons, for example, nowadays, because I started that about 2 years ago,
Yeah,
um, imagining worlds and visualizing fantasy settings and stuff like that, gaming is an amazing entry gate for that.
I
I
agree,
feel like
100%.
as well as movies, obviously, but I feel like games can boost that even more because there's only so much you can do with live action movies, and
Yes,
there's an infinite amount you can do with like games. So I feel like creativity and just fantasy immersion and creativity. I already said creativity, but I
yeah.
feel that can really enhance it as well.
There's another part, and that is, I've there's as you say, games are a fantastic way of expanding your horizon. In the sense of game, like a scenery, I guess. And
Yeah,
for me, there's only one other medium that has the same opportunity, and that is books. Because I don't feel like you get. For instance, I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy by Peter
yeah,
Jackson. It's an amazing series,
mhm,
but I am very glad that I got to read the books before, because that in that way it doesn't taint the experience. And
yeah,
reading books, whether that be something very realistic, like a crimi, like a crime novel, or
hmm,
I don't know, whatever. It's like a,
yeah,
a
yeah,
realistic book, or whether it be Harry Potter or The Lord of the Rings, or a sci-fi like Star Trek or whatever.
yeah,
That gives you a very different task, mind wise. It because it does task your mind with making the images you read.
yeah,
And in that sense, I agree with you. A lot of the foundations to what I think of when I think of, let's say, orcs, or when if we say, like aliens, comes from games, right? It comes
yeah.
from, what's it called? The very famous Commander Shepard game, Mass Effect, the Mass Effect series.
Oh yes,
Very
yeah, yeah,
famous games, and I remember
yeah,
playing those, and the way they did things differently. I also really enjoy watching movies about it now, but I'm really
yeah,
happy that I got to play games where they explore it in a much deeper way than you can in movies. And I feel
yeah,
like that's the other part of games and books, is that it takes 2, maybe 3, maybe in extreme cases more than 3 hours to watch a movie, but to play a game or to read a book, it takes 10, 20, 30 hours, maybe even more, in some instances, where you get
yeah,
to explore a world much more thoroughly than you do in a movie, and you
yeah. I
can
agree.
touch it in some sense, almost metaphorically, because I guess at some point you can if in VR.
Yeah,
If you watch this in
yeah.
2050 and you're able to touch things, shout out.
Amazing.
But yes,
Where has technology gone?
where has technology gone? Okay, so if you were to
Yeah.
give a top 3 of games that you would make people play, give me a single player and a multiplayer list.
Okay.
I will say this is just spitballing. I haven't really put up a list, so
Ooh.
I'm gonna think while you.
All right. So, I'll start with single player first.
Yes.
I would do, one old school,
Yes.
like
They were
8-bit, like pixel shit. Like play a Pokemon game, play a Mario game, one of those. Then I would, obviously, I mean, The Last of Us is just an amazing single player game.
Yes.
And I would also play the whole God of War series from
Ooh.
start all the way to the end.
Interesting.
Because obviously God of War, it starts off as just a fucking hack and slash, kill big thing kind of game, angry, raw, and then in the remakes, that whole prequel of games of like angry shit gets explored to perfection, and
It's
it
almost
gets
as
broken down,
yes.
and it's an amazing series of games.
Yes.
So I would do that. Then for multiplayer, I would pick up, I mean, World of Warcraft has kind of gone downhill.
has to be number 1 for me, even though I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
We still haven't. None of us. You still haven't played the newest expansion, have you?
No.
That's all okay. Other than
yeah.
that, I agree with you.
Yeah. Then, I mean, if you want to torture yourself, play League of Legends. Now multiplayer. I mean, probably play a shooter. Play one shooter, because I never liked shooters until we played Apex Legends together.
Yes.
So play at least one shooter. Play one very community-driven game, aka a Minecraft server with a lot of people. It could be definitely that, because it can also help. Just definitely creativity comes
Yes.
into play with Minecraft and that type of thing. Or World of Warcraft. Then I don't know, probably a it's probably either Minecraft, League of Legends, or
I guess
World of Warcraft.
that's solid
That would be-
choices.
Yeah.
I think World of Warcraft is almost a must, not only because it is the most defining game of our generation and probably in
For
general for
sure.
the gaming
For
as a
sure.
whole.
Yeah.
I would also go with something very I want to say movement orientated. It could be League of Legends. It could be you want to know something crazy I haven't told you actually.
What's up?
I
What's up?
would much rather prefer to play Dota than League of Legends.
I have never played Dota.
No, me neither. I mean, I have in the sense that I know what the game is about, and I watch TI every year because I enjoy that. That's just such a wonderful event. But because it's a much more cerebral game. Now I'm gonna sound all fancy, but you have to use your mind a lot more.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, I know, right? But it is
Alright.
like Dota. You need to use your brain a lot more than your mechanics, and I feel like
It's the other way around for League. For sure.
yes, if you are good mechanically, you can get away with a lot of shit.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
I will say, I think you have to play The Last of Us, like a very good story-driven game, because it is so real, and it could be. Now it is a TV show, and I think they've done a wonderful job. But as a future VR thing where you actually get to act out Joel and be in his mind, I would. I hope they man.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing. If not one of those, I would say the most impactful game in a esports sense is probably Counter-Strike, and I would implore everybody to just play it, try it out. You don't have to sink thousands of hours into it like the rest of us idiots. But just understanding what the game is about and seeing why it has impacted all the shooters that's out there is necessary. And obviously, with that, it is prudent to say, obviously, Counter-Strike 2 is coming out. Have you seen all that news? So it's finally Valve announced that they are porting Counter-Strike Global Offensive to the Source 2 engine. And instead of calling it Counter-Strike Global Offensive, they are now calling it Counter-Strike 2. Yeah. And so I would definitely start there if I was young and wanting to play a game. Because I bet that's going to be amazing.
Yep, I agree.
Any final words on what gaming should or shouldn't be for someone?
Should or shouldn't be? If it is your need to escape, keep it at a healthy level. Don't go overboard and make it the only thing that's keeping you sane. I feel like, kind of thing. And just use it as a helping mechanism, as a helping tool to relax from the day, or to kind of wind down if you've had a bad day or whatever, or you're not feeling good. Then for the casual gamer, just fucking stop being so toxic. It's just a game. Why you mad? It's just a game.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Exactly. But yeah, what about you?
I agree with you 100%. I completely understand, and I think gaming will only evolve from here. This is the very, very budding end of gaming as a genre, and I think the longer we go into the future, the more resources will be poured into gaming. So there's no shaming gaming. If you need to use it as an escape, like you say, use gaming as an escape only in the sense that you need it, and be aware that it is a crutch, and that crutch should only be used as long as you are injured, whether that be physically or mentally. At the same time, if you are listening to this and you have never been a gamer, there are some of the most wonderful story-driven and most deeply compelling stories out there waiting for you. Both very realistic in the sense of The Last of Us, or very fantasy-driven like God of War, or very sci-fi driven like Mass Effect or Halo. So gaming offers something that other mediums can never replicate and never should try to replicate. So you shouldn't be ashamed. But otherwise, definitely. I agree with you 100%. If you are a casual gamer playing a game like League of Legends or FIFA or Counter-Strike, there's no need to act like a jerk just because you're having a bad day. And even if you are really better at Counter-Strike than someone else, what does that really make you? You spend the same amount of time as everybody else on the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're all just trying to have fun. So can't we just have fun together instead of trying to down each other?
Yep. I think that's a good end message.
Exactly. With that, cheerios, my friend. I almost ended
my empty.
My God.
I am empty.
Cheers.
I ended the triple double.
And with that, it is time to say thank you, everybody. The night is over. Get home. Get some sleep. As always, it's been a pleasure entertaining you for some time. We will be back next week. And as always, we will post what the next album is, so you can listen to that. As always, if you have any questions or subjects that we should tackle, leave them below. Subscribe if you haven't. And other than that, there's only to say thank you for listening. We will see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.